My name is Derek Leggott. Northern Ireland was in full swing, 1971. So I said, whereabouts in Ireland is it? And he said, how do you know it's Ireland? And I said, well, you don't dangle those kind of carrots. Anyway, it turned out to be Belfast, just outside Belfast. I became Squadron Sergeant Major of an independent signal squadron just outside of Belfast, which again was mainly involved with communications, but we did a lot of other work as well. And as the Sergeant Major, it was my job to go with the commanding officer. We used to travel about in civilian clothes with a shoulder holster and pistol to visit all our detachments. We're dotted all over Northern Ireland, and yes, we were very much involved in the fighting going on out there. In fact, in my squadron we lost 5 men while I was there, and we're only supposed to be in support of the infantry, but we lost 5 men shot dead, 3 in Newton Hamilton and 2 up near Londonderry. So I had to arrange the funerals for those, which wasn't a very pleasant job. And we did 2 years, straight 2 years in Northern Ireland, because we were called garrison troops. I was, as the Sergeant Major of the Signal Squadron, Independent Signal Squadron, we had a tied house, which was the middle of a civilian estate, just outside, well actually just outside Lisburn, Lisburn's not far from Belfast. And I had to have a fully armed. I carried a pistol, Browning 9mm. Sorry, I didn't have a Browning. I had a Walther 7.65mm pistol, and I carried 20 rounds of live ammunition in my house at all times, in case we were attacked by the IRA. We didn't personally come under attack, but our shopping centre did several times, got bombed several times in the local shopping centre simply for trading with the Brits, because most of the estate were Brits living on there. Brit services and civilian helpers, people are there to assist us.
How was that for your wife and children?
Well, my kids were too young to really understand it, although my son started school in Belfast. He started school there, and it seemed to be okay. They were never intimidated, but once again they had to have armed escorts to go to school and all this. But my daughter was too young for that. She didn't realise much about it. I think my wife fully lapped it up, being amongst all the troubles and all that, We had quite a good social life in the Sergeant's Mess. We never went out socialising in the towns. 4 colleagues of mine did go out socialising in the town, and they finished up paying for it with their lives. They were lured, really, but you can say no more. These 3 girls, I'd lured them in a bar in Lisburn, invited them back to the flat in Belfast, and these fools went, all sergeants as well, these fools went with them, and they said, right, we're just going to get some drinks. And then the next thing, they were just sitting down there. Next thing, the half a dozen of the boyos came in fully armed and shot them dead. 4 of them. They weren't in my outfit, they were just in the different units attached to our Sergeant's Mess. But they paid for it with their lives while I was there. But I didn't get involved with their funerals. But that was, so me and my wife and other friends, we never went socialising in the town, either in Lisbon or in Belfast. We went purely use the Sergeant's Mess, and we had quite a good social life in there. And of course the Sergeant's Mess was funny. I had a car obviously over there which was outside my married quarter, and I used to get into camp, but we had to make sure we searched the cars diligently every morning and coming back again all the time. We served fully. You had to be on your toes all the time in Ireland. Really, you couldn't relax at all.
And did you agree with the British presence?
I did at the time. Looking back now, no, I believe now that Ireland should be united although a lot of people in the north, a lot of the Protestants in the north won't agree with me on that one little bit. But I believe Ireland, now I do believe Ireland should be united. And but of course the latest, our latest, when we first got involved in the Northern Ireland, it was the invitation of the Catholics who were being intimidated in the north by the Protestants, and they were being really intimidated, and our job was to keep them apart. And additionally, the Catholic minority in Belfast and the other parts welcomed us, and the welcome very soon turned to, well, they were being intimidated by the terrorists, by the IRA, who committed. You don't see some of the things that the atrocities they committed, you wouldn't believe. Too bad to print in the papers, I can assure you.
So you were glad to leave Northern Ireland?
Sorry?
You were glad to leave Northern Ireland?
I was very pleased to leave. One of the few places I was really pleased to leave. Belfast wasn't a nice place at the time. It was constantly being bombed all over the place, you know. The big hotel, the Grand Central Hotel, we call it GCHQ because that was where a lot of the senior staff were accommodated, but that was always being bombed. It was one of the nastiest places I've been to, Northern Ireland, because no matter who you were, where you were, as a civilian or whatever, you were involved in the troubles and you were a target. And I had to do escort many a time, even as Squadron Sergeant Major, because we were so short on the ground for troops that I had to do armed escort for the vehicles, essential vehicles to go in. And of course you feel very, very isolated when you get out on the streets. You don't know where it's going to come from, any of the shooting that they come from.
Do you think your time there affected you more than some of the other conflicts?
It didn't affect me in any way that I can remember. I just was pleased to leave. I can see where some of the lads who were more directly involved with me were a bit traumatised, because some of them were in very, very nasty situations. We came under fire a couple of times, but we never got hit, either the vehicle or any of my men. As I said, we lost, during my time there, in my squadron, which was dotted all over, we lost 5 men. And since, I suppose, over in all the time, in the time it was going, out of Royal Signals, I think we must have lost about 40 or so of our soldiers over the Northern Ireland. And I said we were only supposed to work in a supporting role. Most of them, you see, were people like the linesmen who were climbing up the poles to fix the lines, and they were target. It took a bit of courage to go up there, I can tell. They were open target. So we lost quite a few on that one there. The 3 we lost in Newton Hamilton, they were just going for collect the mail. They did it tactically, going across, 2 men guarding, covering, while one across the square. There's no other way to get to the post office but to the square. The guys were actually living in the cellar of a house in Newton Hamilton, which is in South Armagh, and I can't tell you what they were doing, but they were very operational. And they came out, and then once the first man going across the square, unbeknown to them, the provost had set up, they were waiting for, there was a court case going on with 2 of their men were being on trial, and the provost had set up the ambush on the house opposite the courthouse, waiting to get the Royal Ulster Constabulary, who had been coming out on the prison staff. They were the main target. So when they saw our guy coming across the square, he was open target. But the other guy, I'm not sure whether he was right or wrong, he didn't know where the shooting was coming from, so he popped out to have a look, see where it was coming, and they got him as well. And the other guy went to give assistance, and he was shot down too. So I lost 3 men there in the space of a few minutes in Newton Hamilton. I say I call him one because I was Squadron Sergeant Major, and he used to look up. We'd be down there, we used to go down there regularly to visit them, make sure everything was okay, the weapons were okay and all that. So that was the low part of my career, and then we lost the other two guys up near Londonderry. And overall, as I said, throughout the Troubles, we lost quite a few men of our lot. But no, to answer your question, I wasn't sorry to leave Ireland. I've been back to Ireland, but only to the Republic. I've never been back to the North. But I've been back down to the Republic several times and made most welcome.